Today, we're diving into the story of a truly remarkable visionary. This is someone who didn't just build buildings, she built entire communities, literally from the ground up. We're talking about Bertha Honoré Palmer, a woman who totally reshaped the Chicago skyline and then went on to create a paradise on the Florida coastline. Her story is pretty incredible. And let's just start with her own words, because this quote, it captures her whole philosophy perfectly. For Bertha Palmer, it was never, ever just about the bricks and mortar. It was always about the people, about the community, and about the spirit that would live in those spaces. This was the idea that guided every single thing she did.
So, where does our story begin? Picture this, it's 1872. Chicago is a city of ash and ruin, just completely devastated by the Great Fire. I mean, it is a scene of total despair. But for Bertha Palmer, this disaster wasn't the end. No, it was something else entirely.
Her mindset was just extraordinary. While pretty much everyone else saw nothing but destruction, she saw a blank canvas. She saw this unbelievable chance to reimagine and rebuild the city, not just how it was, but how it could be. You know, this unique perspective is really what set her apart and laid the foundation for the modern Chicago we know today. Okay, so she and her husband Potter get right to work. But their plan for a new Chicago went so far beyond just replacing burned-down buildings. It was about fundamentally rethinking what a city should even be for the people who live there. Her whole strategy was just a masterclass in how to rebuild a city with its people in mind. Step one, she actually listened to them to figure out what they needed. From there, she moved to the practical stuff, like making sure there was affordable housing. But, and this is so crucial, she knew a city needed a soul. So she pushed for investment in arts and education and parks. And finally, she brought everyone together under this one big idea: rebuild Chicago together. At the heart of it all was her belief that a city has to serve every single citizen. This wasn't about creating some playground for the rich. Her vision was built on a foundation of equity, on creating a Chicago where everyone, no matter their background, had a real shot at thriving. She believed a city is only successful if all its people can succeed. So, after her husband Potter passed away, you'd think Bertha might have retired. I mean, she'd earned it. But nope. Instead, she started a brand new, incredibly ambitious chapter. She turned her attention south to the wild, undeveloped frontier of Florida. And this timeline just shows you how quickly she moved. A decade after losing her husband, she wasn't slowing down at all. She was becoming a pioneer all over again. By 1911, she was already launching a massive infrastructure project in a totally new state, with a whole new set of challenges. The opportunity came into focus when a Dr. Fred Albee introduced her to these huge, promising tracts of land near Sarasota. But of course, there was a catch. The one thing that could unlock the area's true potential, the railroad, well, it stopped just short of the best land, a place called Venice. Without a railroad, that land was basically worthless. So that became the central challenge of her whole Florida project. If she wanted to build this new paradise, she first had to build the path to get there. And that meant extending the railroad herself, and in the process, literally creating the city of Venice from nothing. So the big question is, how did she fund it? Well, this is where her business genius really shines. She made this incredibly clever move. She sold a huge piece of her land back to Dr. Albee. That move gave her the cash she needed to build the railroad, which then made all the land she kept way, way more valuable. She basically turned one asset into the engine for the entire enterprise. Just brilliant. Okay, so the funding was secured. But now she faced this huge question. She had already rebuilt the soul of a city in Chicago. Now she had the chance to create one from the very start. So how was she going to make sure that Venice was built for everyone? She went out and hired a visionary city planner named John Nolan. And together, with money from the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers, a union that wanted to build a community for its members, they came up with a plan that was honestly decades ahead of its time. A full 40% of the land was set aside for sustainable farming. The plan also called for affordable housing, green spaces, public transit, and, get this, for the time, dedicated opportunities for the African American community. This was a city designed for inclusion from day one. And the progress, it was unbelievably fast. The railroad gets there in 1911. By the mid-1920s, a real town is actually taking shape. You've got paved streets, sidewalks, hotels. And then the big moment in 1927. the first passenger train pulls into the brand new Venice station. She built a paradise in just over a decade. So when you really step back and look at it all, you see these two massive, distinct achievements. One was like a rescue mission for one of America's great cities, and the other was the creation of a brand new one out of nothing but wilderness. Her two great projects were almost mirror images of each other, right? In Chicago, she was faced with the ashes of the past and built a resilient future. In Florida, she had a blank canvas of wilderness and created a planned community from scratch. The challenges couldn't have been more different, but her visionary, people-first approach was the one thing that tied it all together. And in the end, that's what it all comes down to. Her real legacy isn't just about the land she developed or the money she made. It was about her vision for what a community could and should be, and the real impact that vision had on thousands of lives, from the middle of the country to the shores of the Gulf Coast. Bertha Palmer's story really shows us that even the toughest challenges, a city burned to the ground, a wild, empty landscape, can become our greatest opportunities if we meet them with the right kind of vision. And it leaves us with a pretty powerful question for our own time. What kind of future can we build from the challenges that we're all facing today?